Well, welcome to this week's edition of Bolton In, and it's just the two of us. Shane Anderson, as I say, a very good morning to you, all the way from Copenhagen. Mate, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, Matty, I'm really well. It's a real shame that Adam can't join us this week. Of course, going into the Melbourne Cup Carnival on Derby Day, but unfortunately, the great man has been struck by food poisoning, so we certainly wish him a speedy recovery. But feel for him. There's nothing worse.
What do you reckon he's had, mate? Is it a little dodgy hot dog from Vegas or a little Mexican enchilada or something? What do you reckon?
Yeah, it could be any of them, or he might have gone to one of those famous all-you-can-eat buffets in one of the casinos in downtown Vegas. But whichever way it's struck him, we certainly hope he can make a speedy recovery. I must confess, there was a few months back where I had a similar situation and knocked me down for a good week.
Nothing
So
worse.
I hope he can bounce back.
Nah, he'll bounce back, mate. And our thoughts are with him, that is for sure. He's been tipping very, very well, as you have as well, mate. But let's have a look and recap. We'll start with Via Sistina in the Cox Plate, mate. Unbelievable race record. J Max sits up, 70, 80 metres from home. Just an amazing victory, wasn't it? And J Max 100th Group 1. So many storylines. Chris Waller, the lead in last Tuesday, breakfast with the best. He tosses J Mac off. He does 3 more laps. Unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. You summed it up so well. I mean, whichever angle you want to look at it, it's almost like the new format going into a Cox Plate is dumping your rider at track work and, and going for your own individual spin. But no, look, we knew she was good. Her overall record was outstanding, and her form, particularly when she was in Europe, suggested that she was, a legitimate Group 1 star. She was able to come to Australia, transfer that. She had a little hiccup in the early paid stages of the campaign when she failed in the Maccabi Diva. But isn't it remarkable how quickly she then turned it around? Great in the Turnbull, and then, as you highlighted, the Cox Plate, whichever way you look at it, on the clock, through the sectionals, even just visually, it's one of the greatest performances we've seen in the race. It was a fast run Cox Plate, which we're all hoping for. It gave every runner their chance, so it meant that the best horse would come out on top in that sort of situation. And she proved by a considerable margin that she was the best. It was breathtaking to watch. I thought she was a legitimate winning chance, even though I tipped Prognosis and Broadsiding, who ran the placings in the race, but I've liked her through the campaign. I thought she was a clear winning chance, but I did not think she'd be going and winning by the best part of 7 lengths. It was unbelievable. But great masterful training performance by Chris Waller. Brilliant ride by James McDonald. She's a star.
Yeah, 100%. And the only flop this preparation, Shano, was on the heavy ground. So,
Yeah.
I think we've found a fair bit about the horse. Not going to push on to a Melbourne Cup. They're going to go to the Champion Stakes over the 2,000 metres final day of the Flemington Carnival. And Hong Kong's off the radar as well. So, some big decisions in the last 24 hours by the stable.
Yeah, and look, there'll be those out there, the racing fans who would love to have seen her in a Melbourne Cup. Personally, I think she would have run well in a Melbourne Cup. But again, it's just another ridiculous test for a horse that is absolutely thriving in her zone in a distance range at the moment. So, and I would have loved to have seen her in that race. But, she'll go on and we get to see her again at Flemington in just under 2 weeks' time, just over a week's time. And she'll start a short price favourite in the Champion Stakes if she turns up fit and well. And she probably wins that based on what we saw at Moonee Valley. Unbelievable. Good runs behind, though. I want to give Damien Lane a big shout out. I mentioned this on social media too. I thought his ride on Prognosis, the Japanese horse, was fantastic. This is a horse who traditionally is very slow to begin, and we saw none of that. He was fresh bang out of the gates, and he was in the right spot. And outside of Via Sistina, he also has broken the previous course record and beat the rest of the field by 2 lengths. Like, he was just beaten by a freakish performance on the day, but I thought Damien Lane gave Prognosis every conceivable hope to win. Broadsiding ran well from back off the speed. It was good to see his 3-year-old best form stand up. And Mr. Brightside ran really well again. There were some good runs behind. Pride of Jenny wasn't up to it on the occasion. She was found out a little bit with that fast tempo that she set. But it was a great Cox Plate. It delivered, I think, in many ways.
I couldn't agree more. Fantastic theatre. The celebration as well was enormous. And as I said, J Max 100th Group 1, he's a star. Make no mistake about it. And talking about rising stars, El Costello
Mm.
was really good in the Spring Champion Stakes. Heads towards the Derby on the weekend. Shady, you were all over this, mate. This was a good victory, wasn't it? Because this horse was challenged, but good enough to stave him off and really strong through the line.
Yeah, good comment there, Matty, because that's exactly what I thought too. He was put in the race from the right time. He came to the home turnout 3 and 4 deep. He loomed up, and then once he hit the front, they came at him, but they couldn't get past him, and he just kept
Yeah.
holding the margin all the way down the line. So there was a bit of chatter for pre-race about whether or not he'd run a strong 2,000 meters. I think he certainly proved that he could do that. And he now progresses to the Derby. We'll talk about the Derby a little bit more. I think he certainly hasn't been served well by the barriers, but he's got a lot of class. He's very, very strong. He's a really likable colt, and well done to see Anthony Cummings back in the winners list in a Group One race. It's a spring champion. He's now won 3 times, and Anthony does have a pretty solid record with these 3-year-olds in being able to keep them to continue once they get to that sort of Group One level. So there's a lot to like about him.
Yeah, mate. What about the victory of Belclair in the invitation? At a big price, Shano. Hard to find for the punters, but this is a good win.
Yeah, it was a good performance. I couldn't have it. It
Yeah,
surprised me enormously, but was fairly dominant. Was able to sort of put herself in the right spot at the right time, kick when it mattered, and just hold the rivals to bay. Yeah, I'm still not sure what to make of it. Is Bill Clare a sort of horse that we can back again with confidence in these sort of races, or was it just a one-off? I'm not sure, but it was a good performance. Yeah, I think every runner behind really had the chance to beat it, but didn't happen.
yeah, no, absolutely, mate. Hey, listen, let's turn our attention to Saturday, Derby Day, one of the best race meetings on the calendar. But Shane, I want to get your thoughts because I did see some social media comments that
Mhm.
you're probably just disappointed with the scheduling a little bit. And I must admit, I'm with you.
Yeah, look, Matty, I've talked about like back in my days when I was working in the Australian media. I talked a lot, particularly when I was on radio and also on TV with racing.com. I talked a lot about the program of racing. One of the things that's always bothered me, I don't mind change. Change is inevitable, and change is something all businesses, all industries, all sport need to evolve, particularly as, the world changes around it. What I don't like in racing is when we have clubs do their own changes in isolation and not thinking necessarily of the broader program. I think changes to a program of racing, particularly when you're governed by the black type, the group race schedule, which the breeders need to showcase the value of their horses. It all needs to be done with a well thought out plan where, say, in a country like Australia, where every state gets an opportunity to fit in and clubs get their opportunity to fit in. I just don't like the changes that have been made to Derby Day, where we've lost what was the weight for age 2,000 meter race. Now, yep, it's now been moved to this last day of the carnival, and it's bolstered the Champions Day meeting. But also losing the Archer or the Hotham, that 2,500 meter last ditch run to get into the Cup. There was a traditional betting opportunities around those races, which were only, I think, getting stronger. I think the race now the race day, Derby Day, is pretty bland. We've got, enormous amount of 3-year-old races on the card, which, okay, for some of us can look at it and go, yeah, okay, it just makes sense. But what Carbine Club, of Vanity, a Wakeful, a Derby are all for 3-year-olds. We've got a hell of a lot of mares and fillies races on the card too. Handicap races or big field handicap races are the ones that often drive significant turnover. We've got two, which is the Rising Fast and the Damien Oliver over sprint trips. I just think it's missing that X factor. We need something more on the day. If it's now not the great day of Australian racing as it had been for 150 odd years. It's dropped away, and I think the VRC, Racing Victoria, the other clubs, Racing Australia, everyone's got to start getting together to think about the program and what works best. Because,
Yeah.
this was a grand final day for so many for 150 years. It's the starting point of the big week of racing with Melbourne Cup Carnival, and I just think it's now looking like a bland race day. It's lost its luster, and I think something needs to be done to revisit that or tweak it.
Uh, I reckon get in the room and just sort it out and stop trying to play off against each other. And it's just for the betterment of racing, isn't it? For the betterment of the horses, the industry. They just need to sit down and work it out properly. And I'm with you, mate. So well said. Good points.
Thank you.
Let's turn our attention, mate. Let's turn our attention to the Victoria Derby on Saturday, race 7 over the 2,500 metres. And the Palmer Bet Market, El Costello is our favourite at $3.50 on the back up. Red Aces at $7. King of Thunder, $7. Keeneland, $10. Gold Rush Guru, $12. St. Emilion, $14. China Sea at $16. Tenbury Well, $17. And King of Wall Street at $18. Are you sticking fat here with El Costello, mate, even with that tricky gate?
Yeah, I really wanted to, Matty, but I haven't. I've shied away from him
Wait.
because the more. No, look, be clear. I really like this colt. I think he's got a lot of class. But I've looked at this race, lost a lot of sleep overnight coming into the show after the field was announced, looking at the race and trying to work the map out. I think they go forward, like because that's kind of been his racing pattern in recent starts. If he begins well to try and work their way across. That's going to
Yep.
make it tough for him. At the same time, if they decide to go back, he's probably going to have to go a long way back. And we've seen in some of the other 3-year-old races that have been run, the pace hasn't always been that strong. So I'm just umming and ahhing about where he's going to land in the run. And for his current price, that just makes me not want to side with him. But if he wins, I'll give him a big cheer because I genuinely really, really like him. So I've looked for a bit more value in the race, Matty. I'm going to the Busserton Young Bowman factor with Keeneland as my best in the race. Look, Trent Bussett and Natalie Young have got a good record in this race. Hugh Bowman has got a fantastic record in this race, in the Derby. And from barrier number 11, Keeneland, I think, can begin and be fairly prominent to the speed. On breeding, he should run the trip out without any issue. His recent starts have been very good. Of course, he won at Benalla 3 starts ago on grand final eve. He then went to Flemington where he beat Red Aces, and the form's been boosted there with his win in the Superimposed Stakes. And I thought it was terrific. He was very strong on that occasion. And then he went to the Norman Robinson last start, small field. The tempo was really, really slow. And when they upped the ante, he just got out sprinted by King of Wall Street and China's Sea. I think 2,500 metres is a massive boost for him. From his draw, he'll be handy to the pace, and I think he's a fantastic chance, Keeneland, at the price. So I'm siding with him. I think he's over the odds. He's my best in the race. And my value bet in the Derby is King of Wall Street because, again, I think he's been missed in the market. He's only had 3 starts from a fairly, okayish debut where he wasn't beaten far at Pakenham. He then went to Flemington where he was runner-up to Stylish Secret before progressing to the Norman Robinson when able to, come wide and just finish too strong in that race that really was a sprint home. So I think King of Wall Street's been forgotten in the market. He's overs, and I'm happy to have something on him. But they're the two I'm most keen on. Keeneland is my best. King of Wall Street, my value. But for those sticking with El Castillo, I think the favourite's going to run a big race.
I do too. Tricky gate, barrier 18. But the horse is a winning horse. Good win last week, strong. I'm sticking fat with the fave, mate. You're right, though. Short enough in a race like the Derby. But yeah, I reckon winning form. And I like your comments earlier about Cummings, Anthony Cummings, and horses that back up and hold their form. And I reckon you're 100% spot on. And, mate, we're very similar with King of Wall Street. I agree. By done deal. Good win last start. Caulfield. It was a strong win. Matty Kamani can train a stayer too. So yeah, $17. Why wouldn't you have it throw up the stumps at a really big price? Because outside the fave, it's a really open field for mine this year's Derby, which it quite often is. Hey, let's have a look at the Coolmore Stud Stakes. Some great winners over the journey of this race. It is a ripping edition once again this year, and the favourite, all thanks to Palmer, his growing empire at $3.20. Traffic Warden at $3.90. Switzerland $6. Lady of Camelot $7.50. Bellatrix Star $11. Coleman $16. First Settler $19 and Gatsby's at $26. Shane, really keen on your thoughts here. It's a cracking race, this race, each and every year, isn't it?
It really is, Matty. And I've looked at this and chopped and changed a few times because I think it's a fantastic contest this year. I really like, the depth of the field, got legitimate winning chances. I think the market's fairly right in most parts. The likes of Growing Empire, Traffic Warden, Switzerland, First Settler at a big price, the filly. Lady of Camelot coming off a good run in the Everest, and also Bellatrix Star. I think there's legitimate strong contenders in this race. It's not sort of a one act affair. I've chopped and changed a bit, as I mentioned, but I've come back to Growing Empire as my best in the race. There's a lot to like about Growing Empire, and just the development that he's been able to produce throughout this campaign, winning his first two starts, narrowly beaten in the Group 1 at the Valley, and then, of course, he ran, I thought, fantastic in the Everest last time out, where he was up on speed in a race that certainly wasn't run at a frantic pace in the Everest, but he stuck on really well to not be beaten too far. He's proven down the straight at Flemington, and I just keep coming back to him as my best bet in the race. So that's Growing Empire. I think he can win. I think his price is right. My value bet is a horse I think the price is not right with at the moment, and that is First Settler. Of course, he chased home Growing Empire two starts ago, and then he was terrific when winning at Flemington last time out in the Danehill Stakes from off the speed. He really powered home late to defeat Reserve Bank right on the line. I think the market's forgotten about him a little bit, and I think he's representing value. But a terrific contest. Growing Empire, my best. First Settler, the value. Really looking forward to the Cornwall Stud Stakes.
Love it, mate. It is going to be a ripping edition. You're right, that Everest form you think is going to stack up. Great run by Growing Empire. I'm actually going Switzerland. I reckon this horse was enormous last start. Back, hasn't raced down the straight at Flemington. A little question mark there, because I do like horses that have had a little bit of a look at Flemington. Some horses, as you know, Shane, they love it. Some just absolutely don't. But I reckon Switzerland will be one that will. J-Mac to continue his magnificent form. And then I reckon the value's the 14, Bellatrix Star. This horse looking for 4 on the trot and has raced here down the straight at Flemington. I know, admittedly, over the 1,100 metres, steps out of the 1,200. Might be the only test, but I reckon at a big price, you can't leave that out either. So happy to play around them too. Let's have a look at the Empire Rose. Race 8 over 1,600 metres, and this is a huge race. A tissue, $4.40. It is a favourite, Amelia's Jewel at $4.80. Plenty of ammo, Shane. $7. Orchestral at $7.50. El Safina at $10, Komochi $11, Revolutionary Miss $15, and Grozinga Bell at $15. I was all over Plenty of Ammo last week, and I just reckon this is the opportunity for Simon Wild to get his first Group 1. I know they are tossing whether they go this Saturday or whether they go to the 2,000 metres. Via Sistina obviously committing to the week after the Champion Stakes over the 2,000 metres. Does that turn you off? Do you go, you know what, let's go the back up and let's head the 1,600 metre option, because this field looks a lot easier to beat. No disrespect, it's a good field, but looks a lot easier to beat.
Yeah, you make a good point there for a horse like Plenty of Ammo, and again, a good shout by you with sticking with her last start. You knocked me off in the crystal ball. Well done. But no, but when you look at it, we've got some of the established, shall we say, established Group 1 performers in the race, the likes of a Tissue, Amelia's Jewel, and Orchestral. They're not really in winning form. Zardozi's had a slightly different preparation, staying trips now back to the mile. So for a horse that is winning and emerging, this is a really good opportunity for a mare like Plenty of Ammo. So I think you make a really, really strong point there. Fascinating contest, the Empire Rose. I've stuck with Amelia's Jewel as my best, where I think the draw really suits her ideally. Jamie Carr going into the saddle for the Group 1. Go back through her form this campaign. She's been good. She chased hard behind in the Gold Pendant. I'll spit that out. When beaten by Macarena first up, she then was second up. That was after what was a very good tramway, where she chased Royal Patronage, beaten about a length and a half on both occasions. And then she went to the King Charles III last time out, and I thought she made good late ground in that race. She really tried hard without being able to threaten. She just got probably too far back in the early stages of the race, but she finished off okay. From barrier number 2, I think Jamie Carr has a few options up her sleeve to put her where she is feeling the most comfortable. And if she settles somewhat handy to the pace, I think she's going to be very, very hard to beat. So I'll put Amelia's Jewel as my best. My value bet is Orchestral for the James Wellwood Yard with Mark Zara in the saddle. Look, her first up run in New Zealand was very good, and then she went to the Toorak Handicap last start and nothing worked out for her. She was back in the field and then she got held up at a real critical stage. But once she got in clear, she was able to sort of work home. I know she was well beaten by Antino on that occasion. It was a runaway winner of the race, but it was a funny old race, the Toorak this year, the way that the race panned out. But I think of those behind, Orchestral was one of the better runs in that race. So I've got Amelia's Jewel as my best, Orchestral as my value, but to the point that we discussed with plenty of ammo, I think she's going to run a terrific race here as well. She'll get her chance for a Group 1.
Yeah, I'm sticking fat with her, mate. I just I love the fact the horse on the up. Tissue is the class horse of the field. Loves Flemington, 1,600 metres, but I just don't know how good the tissue's actually going for mine. So a little bit of a question mark there. So I'm happy to play around both those two. But my best, plenty of ammo, $7.50. I'm happy, Shane. Barrier three, I reckon going to get a beautiful suck run in there at some point in time is going to look the winner. I thought that was a really impressive victory last week, and I know this horse is smoking. Yeah, I reckon this could be Group 1 day for Simon Wild, which would be fantastic. He's got a little bubs on the way too. Hasn't popped this yet, I don't think. So wish him all the best of luck. He didn't go to the race at Moonee Valley on the weekend, but I reckon he might be down there, rain, hail, or shine this weekend if plenty of ammo does go around and they don't save it for the next weekend. Righto, Golden Eagle time, race 8, Rose Hill, 1,500 metres. Jolly Star's the favourite at $5. Ascoli Pacino at $5. Lazat at $5.50. Tommy Kitten at $9. Steffi Magnetic at $10. Southport Tycoon $12. Craig $18 and Ostraka at $21. Are you with the Chris Waller camp here again, mate, to get the job done with Jolly Star?
No, I'm not, Matty. I'm actually with the French raider Lazat, a horse that I've been lucky enough to see in the flesh over in Europe, and I can vouch for the fact he's a star. He has so much ability. He's winning the Group 1 the last time out over 1,300 metres at Deauville at the start of August. That's the Prix Marie de Geest. He was terrific on that occasion. He was up on speed, and the best thing about him is the race got longer, he got better, and he was so strong through the line. And it's a tough race to win. It's a long, straight track at Deauville, and he was outstanding on that occasion. The best thing about it, the form out of the race has really been quite strong, with those that placed behind him then running in really strong Group 1 races in Europe and running really well. So I think there's depth to the form. If he's arrived fit and well in Australia, I think he should be half the price that he currently is. So I think the market is wrong with him, and I'm banking on the fact that he's fit and well, and I think he's a really good bet in the race. So I'm keen on Lazat as my best in the Golden Eagle for the international raider to take the prize. My value bet, I'm going with an old mate of ours in Southport Tycoon, Matty. He's drawn out in gate 15 for the very much informed Craig Williams, but he's got so much ability. He's a Guineas winner up to a mile. His form this campaign, I think, has been really good. From that first up run, he then went to win the Group 1 Manikato, and then last time out, I thought he stuck to the task really well when third to Overpass and Coal Crusher in the Sydney Stakes on Everest Day, up to a trip that'll suit him ideally. I just can't believe the price for him. I thought he'd be a lot shorter than what he is, Southport Tycoon. So I've got him in as the value bet, but keen on the French raider Lazat, but certainly think Southport Tycoon's going to run really well.
I'm with you. Value bet Southport Tycoon for me, Shane. Forgotten Horse for mine. That was an enormous win in the Manikato. Tricky gate, informed Craig Williams, though, and a really silly price. It's a cracking field. The Japanese Raider, too, of course, they won it last year. They'll be keen to go again. But I'm with my best in this race is Jolly Star. I just reckon best is good enough. K McAvoy, I don't know, just ticks a few boxes and got that Chris Waller polish, of course, and big feature races. There's none better. So that's the way I am going in the Golden Eagle on the weekend. What else you got for us around the land on Saturday, Shano?
Matty, I'm keen to play at Flemington this weekend. In the opening race, the Carbone Club Stakes, there's a horse called King of Enterprise who I like a lot. He's a 3-year-old gelded son of Impending for Trent Bussard and Natalie Young. Hugh Bowman in the saddle. I thought his first up run at Cranbourne was very good on, his debut run. And then he went to Pakenham on a heavy 8 last start, and I thought he was outstanding. He's coming into the race third up, lightly raced, very good last start. The distance, I think, will suit. I can't believe he's going to be around that sort of $20 mark. So I like him at the each way, King of Enterprise in the Carbone Club race 1. In race 4 on the card, which is the Damien Oliver, I'm sticking to an old mate of ours in Another Will. I think he can bounce back from his defeat in the Toorak last start in what was an odd race. I think back to 1,400 metres from a good draw. Jamie Carr in the saddle, and I think for all of those friends of Cole McKenna, who sadly we lost in the last week, it'll be an emotional a moment, particularly if Another Will can win that, and I do think he can. And race number 5 on the card, Matty, which is the Wakeful. There's a horse here from up in New South Wales, the John Sargent trained Powers of Opal. I was quite taken by her win in a maiden last start at Hawkesbury over the mile. James McDonald in the saddle. She ran well the start before when setting the pace in the flight stakes. She was just beaten by better fillies on that occasion, but I think rising up to 2,000 metres, she's going to be very hard to beat. She has been already well supported in the market, Powers of Opal.
Love it, mate. I'll tell you what, I'm with you with Another Will. Great story. And there'll be plenty of emotion if Another Will can salute in those famous Colin McKenna silks. And what a legend and a great supporter of racing he has been. And I reckon he's got another chance earlier on in the day, a horse called Chewing Gum at a big price. But I'm actually keen in that same race. I'm going to have something on both Chewing Gum, but I'm also keen on a horse called I Am Velvet from the Stokes yard. This horse, no luck first up, climbing over the top of horses. Didn't get out till late. Wanted to throw the head around a bit. I reckon it's going to be certainly hard to beat at a nice price, about $10 or $11 as well. And race 9, number 15, Ferrari. Gee whiz, go and have a look at the replay of this horse winning in Sydney a couple of weeks ago. It had no right to win that day and got the job done. I reckon the straight is going to suit this, and this horse is a nice price, to be honest. So, that's the way I'm playing. So race 2, number 4, I Am Velvet. Race 4, number 2, Another Will. And race 9, number 15, Ferrari, to get the job done. Shano, it's going to be a magnificent weekend of racing. Derby Day, one of the best on the card. It starts off, of course, the Melbourne Cup Carnival, Melbourne Cup on Tuesday, Oaks Day on Thursday, and then Champions Day the following Saturday. It is going to be an enormous week. I'm down there for 3 of those days, Shano. I'm looking forward to it. It is going to be a sensational week of racing, as it always is. And the weather, mate, looks magnificent. 28 degrees for most of the week. It is going to be unbelievable, buddy.
Yeah, I think the weather gods look like they're smiling on Flemington, so let's hope that plays out that way. Let's hope we have some fantastic racing with the track standing up, and whether it's Derby Day, Cup Day, Oaks Day, or Champions Day, that we can find plenty of winners. You're in form, Matty. Let's hope it continues, and with a bit of luck, our great mate Adam will be back with us when we do the Cup preview show coming up.
And he'll still send his tips through, I'm sure. But, mate, great to talk as always. You have a wonderful week, and we'll talk before the Melbourne Cup, buddy.
You too, Matty. Good luck, everyone.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.